Starts now.
Captured, police arrest a man in the wake of the terror attacks in Brussels. They believe it is the third suspect. The other two bombers are dead. How a taxi driver led law enforcement to a major break in this investigation.
And the world unites.
They are trying to divide us and to put a lot of fear into us, but in the end, we're all one.
How people around the globe come together to remember the lives lost and the survivors. Good morning. Word has filtered in this morning that Belgium's main airport will remain closed until at least Thursday night. Just hours ago, reports began identifying the third suspect in the bombing as 25-year-old Najim Laroui. We're awaiting confirmation that he is in fact the suspect authorities have been searching for hours.
Airport surveillance video captured the third suspect standing next to the other two men. Now, he was wearing a light-colored jacket there. He also has that hat on, wearing glasses. Investigators believe he planted a bomb at the airport and left it. That bag there, an explosion that never went off. U.S. officials believe that move was planned. We have multiple crews covering this story, but first we start with Nikki on the latest.
Good morning, Jen, and good morning, Bruce. You know, the other two suspects have been identified as brothers Khalid and Brahim El-Bakraoui. They were at the airport. Both were wearing a glove on their left hand, as you see in this picture. Police are familiar with these brothers for organized crime, and both are suspected of having ties to the Paris terror attacks. Last week, authorities raided an apartment that Khalid was renting, but they think they just missed taking these two into custody during that raid. Now, one of the major breaks in this investigation came from a taxi driver. He actually called police shortly after authorities released that photo of the three men in the airport. He told officers he believed that he was the one that drove them there. The driver also told authorities the men would not allow him to unload the suitcases from that cab. So he led investigators to where he picked up the brothers and the third suspect. That is where officers found a nail bomb, chemical products, and an ISIS flag. Now, as law enforcement continues to comb through all of this evidence, we are hearing from witnesses of the metro and airport explosions.
I heard an explosion. That was the first bomb. When we came out of the elevator, on that moment, the second bomb exploded, and then we saw doors flying, glass ceiling coming down.
When I got out onto the platform and was exiting the station, the whole station was in ruin. I mean, there was soot and smoke everywhere. There was glass broken on the ground. It was clear that there was an attack, that there was a bombing. I didn't see anyone hurt, but again, I couldn't see it. It was completely dark in there as well. I just kind of went right for the exit, and as I was exiting, the whole exit was destroyed. There was glass on the ground, and as I was exiting the metro, I went right into the street, and people on the street were looking into the entrance of the metro, puzzled, confused, trying to figure out what those noises were, why people were running out. It all happened extremely fast.
Now, let's talk about Amir Hajek for a moment. He grew up in Brussels. He has a lot of friends who live in the city. He actually lives in St. Augustine now. His parents fled from the airport in the moments just before those explosions went off. I mean, they nearly missed it.
Initially, I had no contact with my parents, so I was really worried, and I was angry. I was shook up a little bit. I couldn't believe that happened in the airport that I was in 3 months ago in December, when I went to Europe, and I was worried to death for my parents because they were arriving in Brussels in the same airport at the same time, well, almost the same time that this whole chaotic situation happened. I'm going back this summer. I have to go back. I want to go see my parents. If we give up and we show fear and we hide, we lose, and they win.
Now, the U.S. Homeland Security Department says that there is no specific credible intelligence of threat to America, but authorities are increasing security, especially in very crowded places. This is live at the Jacksonville International Airport. We want to go ahead and give you a live look there right now. We noticed that officers were more visible than normal, even parking outside of the departures drop-off area with their emergency lights flashing, just so they could keep a close eye on people that were in that area. Bruce and Jen, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Several raids have been carried out since the explosions. I want to get some perspective on what's involved in the searches that are going on.
Joining us now is former FBI agent Tony Charbot, who is now with a company called Confidence. It's a security consulting business. Good morning to you, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Do appreciate it. So what we have certainly been hearing now over the last 24 hours is that there needs to be an increase in sharing of information among these countries and also in funding. Brussels is small. How is that impacted, obviously, what we saw yesterday in terms of being able to chase down all of these suspected terrorists?
Right. This is a tense time, obviously, for, law enforcement. And there's so much going on with the multiple crime scenes, terrorism scenes. So you have that, and you have a huge influx of information coming in, people who want to help. It's amazing that the taxi driver, he came forward so quickly. And human intelligence, and we've talked about this before, is always the best intelligence. And that really, led investigators very quickly on a path to identifying who was responsible.
In fact, Tony, there is word that they may have actually been onto these two brothers before, but didn't have the manpower to rein them in. Intelligence, as you mentioned, is going to be key here. And there's some people say that intelligence is going to come at the price and the cost of our personal freedoms. Is that just the way of the world these days?
I don't know, how that's going to shake out. I will say it is an opportunity for individuals and companies to, really take notice as you're traveling. You're looking to your gate, and I know when I travel, I'm excited to be, head where I'm going. But the fact of the matter is, we have to start on a regular basis also looking at where are the exits, where are the reinforced areas. The bathrooms, typically bathrooms just like in a house, are reinforced. And having that strategy, organizations, as they start a meeting, actually starting with where are the exits, because the fact of the matter is this can happen anywhere, anytime now, and we have seen that, unfortunately, over the last few months.
As a former FBI agent, how safe do you think we are as Americans?
Well, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security just came out and said there are no credible threats in the U.S. I can tell you, from my experience, those folks that are working in counterterrorism and other areas are, trying to collect and share the intelligence that we have here with Brussels. I'm sure that there will be some folks deployed to Belgium at some point, with specialty resources. But I have to believe that we're in good hands.
Tony, thank you very much. Appreciate your perspective. And the reality is here that there is knowledge that there are sleeper cells in the United States, and ISIS has made it clear that what's to come next will be bigger and maybe even more horrific. So we have to remain vigilant. Right now, dozens of students from local universities are studying abroad. They're in Europe and learning the tough lesson of life and traveling in an area that's on high alert because of terrorism.
Their schools are, of course, taking every step to make sure that they stay safe and return home. Channel 4's Ashley Harding joining us now live from the airport. And Ashley, we understand a large group from UNF is currently studying in Europe as well. How are they doing?
Well, Jen, we're told that they are okay. We know that the university reached out to them to make sure they are doing all right, and we're told that everything seems to be fine. These are about 47 UNF students, as well as 2 faculty members in several different countries in Europe. But people are making their way toward the airport over here. There are actually people have arrived just a little while ago, and look over here. There's some other people making their way to security checkpoint. One thing some experts want to reiterate is you can't just not live your life, not travel, not study abroad. But as we said just a minute ago, you have to be vigilant and on guard. In wake of yesterday's terrorist attacks in Brussels and the November Paris attacks, prayers, fears, and concerns are felt around the world. Those thoughts extend all the way here to Jacksonville, even on University of North Florida's campus.
It's definitely concerning, very sad, and I just know that there's a lot going on.
I think their major events in major cities in Europe, are happening so close together, and it's just like, it makes me worried that, what's going to happen in a month, what's going to happen in a week.
Questions hard to answer, but still on the minds of many as they prepare to travel. Right now, nearly 50 UNF students and faculty are studying abroad in Europe. More tours are planned for the summer. This includes trips to the United Kingdom, Spain, France, Germany, and Italy, to name a few. I spoke on the phone with Ellen Glasser, a retired FBI agent and UNF professor. She has a background with the North Florida Terrorism Task Force. Glasser says the most important thing traveling students can do is listen to their group leaders. Don't travel somewhere not recommended. And if something doesn't look right, right. Speak up, especially in crowded places.
The idea is just to keep your eyes open if you see something to report it, because that could actually help law enforcement or the intelligence community to prevent something from happening.
And if an attack is imminent, act.
Each situation is different. Sometimes if you're the only thing standing in between something bad happening, then you do need to act. But that's not usually the case. Usually these events require planning.
And as we've been reporting here at the airport, there is added security. Here's a closer look of what we can show you. You can see there are officers. One is holding a high-powered rifle. There's also a dog here. Now, Glasser also reminded me that a threat alert issued by the Department of Homeland Security back in December is still in effect. Now, she tells me this serves as a warning about terrorism in public places, of course, like airports. But she also tells me it's not set to expire until June. For now, we are live. Ashley Harding, Channel 4, the local station.
By the way, I think it's fair to point out that those police officers and the dog and the weapons are always there. There's always that police presence at Jacksonville International Airport during what they call the morning rush for flyers. We'll continue to bring you up to date on the latest developments out of Brussels. At 8:30, Crystal Moyer looks at how the world reacts and honors the victims of the terror attacks.